This is Merps. We're back after a week off to watch a pretty disappointing Super Bowl. Really, I don't know how many of you guys would have bet that the Chiefs would not score a single touchdown in that game, but if you did, you're probably somewhat insane, but also you probably made a lot of money. So we're back just in time, week before BlizzCon. Happy Valentines Day for all of you guys out there. Let's celebrate with your true love, video games. You know, okay, no, you did this wrong. You're muted. You're muted. All right, well, good, because now you can actually count faster. Merp Solo podcast, just the way it's always been.
Hello. Yeah. You guys hear me, right? Do I sound okay?
Yeah. They're picking you up now.
Okay. Does it sound like it's coming out of the right microphone or everything's good? That is so weird. Literally changed nothing between my Wednesday stream and now. Okay. All right. We'll do this again.
Maybe you pushed a button by accident.
I guess. All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Lightforge podcast. This is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Welcome back. We were off last week to watch a disappointing Super Bowl. We're back now to talk BlizzCon, to talk about what's coming up. Nothing really happened. Significant. I mean, announcements were made, but nothing has happened so far.
So many announcements were made.
What's coming up on Friday is going to be huge.
It's going to be ridiculously huge. So many things are coming up, and we are going to talk about all of it. Happy Chinese New Year, happy Valentine's Day, which is today when we're recording it, actually. Shout out to Brand New for being a great Valentine and not forcing me to go out and get a reservation. It's apparently impossible this year. And also President's Day coming up on Monday, so most of you don't have to go to work.
That's very true. All right, let's talk about some of the announcements that were made during these 2 weeks, which I think a lot of people were surprised about because a lot of people probably thought everything was going to be announced during BlizzCon, BlizzCon Online, which you can all watch. It's going to happen on Friday, same day as Shining Fate's release, by the way. But Blizzard is doing BlizzCon all online because they canceled it last year. A lot of announcements are going to be made with all of their franchises, especially Hearthstone and especially Diablo, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Yeah.
But before then, 5 days ago, on the 9th, Hearthstone made a huge announcement about the future of Standard, Arena, basically just like the fundamental pillars of the game.
Okay, you know this announcement before the announcement. It's not even the announcement of the announcement, which, you know, Blizzard likes doing, the announcement of the announcement of the announcement and stuff. But this is the announcement before the announcement. They already announced a bunch of stuff. And what is going to happen at BlizzCon? More stuff. There was so much stuff at BlizzCon that they had to give some of the announcements. It's not even like spoilers. It's so big. Okay. Anyway, getting into it. Core set is here, or will be here sometime before the next expansion. And Core set, if you know Magic the Gathering or really any other freaking card game, is how things usually are, which is there's this rotating core set of cards that is the core of the game. Hearthstone has always had Classic and Basic. That kind of functions as the Evergreen set. But they're like 7 years old. So it was time for a refresh. And rather than just refresh it once, they announced that they're going to keep refreshing the core set. But before we even get to like the future of the core set, the breakdown of the core set is really interesting. I'm going to start and tell you because you may not know this, off the top of your head. There are 240 classic cards and 140 basic cards in Hearthstone. In the core set, there will be 88 classic cards returning, 54 basic cards. That's roughly 38% of all existing basic and classic cards returning. So you may be like, oh, well, then there's going to be some new cards to fill this out. No, there's only going to be 29 new cards, which does not really get into that at all. But what will be filling the gaps are wild cards. 55 returning wild cards, plus 4 cards from Ashes of Outlands, which is 20% of the Ashes of Outlands set, as they admit that they screwed up with the Demon Hunter. 4 cards returning from, 4 cards returning from Ashes of Outland Demon Hunter class cards, and 4 cards returning from Demon Hunter Initiate. So 8 cards total out of how many, I don't know how many cards that they had, but there was 20 Demon Hunter Initiate cards to begin with. So it's a very thin slice of Demon Hunter cards are going to remain in the game. Okay, and 1 card returning from Hall of Fame, which is Shadowform.
Yeah, that's what we know thus far. They specifically told us that Shadowform was coming back. That's like a little teaser. We know that's coming back. As for the rest of the cards, people are just guessing right now. But we know that a core set is coming, and after the set rotation this year, Standard is going to be made up of the new core set, and then the card sets from Year of the Phoenix, which is Ashes of Outland, Skull and Man's Academy, Madness of the Dark Moon Fair, and the Dark Moon Races mini set, along with whatever the next expansion is. Some people may know, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but that is what will be in Standard. And this idea of a core set has been pushed by quite a few prominent streamers and players. Brian Kibler has made tons and tons of videos on it, which makes sense. Kibler comes from an MTG background, also has dabbled extensively in game design, and he has been saying for a long time that having an evergreen set is unsustainable. That yes, you have the continuity for people who are coming back, which is one of the reasons that Blizzard has kept on stating this is why we want basic and classic sets. The argument against it is it's boring. And yes, you can relegate things to Hall of Fame. You can maybe introduce a couple cards which come back. But by placing an evergreen set and just doing a little few pokes here and there, it really does make the game incredibly stale. And with this, we're getting a huge shakeup. And it's really what MTG does every few, every whatever period of time. They have a new core set, and then you are forced to adjust, adapt. It really shakes up Standard, and let's face it, at least according to the Twitch demographics, Standard needs a shakeup. It's not doing so well.
Yeah, but that's constructed. For Arena, obviously you're going to get that same, like normally classic normally classic is treated as evergreen, and so you see like Yeti all the time, for example. But the new sets will impact Arena in that way. But the other part that's going to impact the Arena is you know how we were talking about before, where we're only getting a certain percentage of cards back, and a lot of them are going to be from Wild, so that we're only seeing about 38% of basic and classic cards coming back. Most of the ones that are coming back from basic and classic, though, it's not evenly distributed between neutral and class cards. A lot more class cards are coming back than neutral cards. So if you look at the numbers, well, okay. Never mind. Maybe not. There's just... Okay, I'm going to take that back. Just a lot of neutral cards aren't coming back period. Out of 110 neutral cards, 34 neutral cards are coming back. So it's not hitting for classic, and for neutral, out of 43 basic cards that are coming back, that are existing, 13 are coming back. So it's not that much lower than the 38% of the other cards, but it means that the total number of neutral cards is going to be significantly lower. They did a change with the Demon Hunter with the Demon Hunter set, where since Demon Hunters existed, which is the beginning of the year of the Phoenix, every set that came out had a whole crap ton of Demon Hunter cards to offset the fact that there weren't Demon Hunter cards before. But they didn't actually raise the total number of cards per set that they released. And they didn't reduce the number of class cards all the other classes got. So that extra class of Demon Hunter, plus the extra Demon Hunter cards, because Demon Hunters are like a double class almost, all came from the neutral pool, which meant that there are like less than half of the neutral cards we normally see in a set in Year of the Phoenix sets. So between that and just this significantly reduced amount of neutral cards that are going to be in your basic and classic set, hopefully they're the good ones, but it's going to create kind of a different feel in arena drafts no matter what they do, and that's for the better, right? You know, I love neutral cards, and I love my Yetis, and it's not like I don't want to draft them as much, but it's not like you're going to see the Yeti less frequently. What you're going to see less of is probably all those crap neutrals that really ruin your run for no good reason, right? Like, that's part of the refresh. You look at, like, your Alarmo bots, right? And you're just like, I don't want that in the game, period. So you could have gotten rid of it just for like arena, but this way they're going to get rid of, I hope, a lot of them for constructed for arena, and just keep them like out of the game. And I think it'll have a positive impact on the overall stability of your draft, of every draft going forward.
I think so. We're just going to see a smaller pool, but hopefully a more relevant pool. We don't know the cards yet. And if you look at Arena HS, a lot of people are already thinking or asking, do you think they consider Arena at all?
No.
Who knows? Who knows? But one of the problems with Arena right now is that a lot of basic and classic cards just suck or are boring. Both. Lots of times they're boring and they are bad.
Boring. Like, it's your especially your like basic cards, right? Like, you don't want your Yetis to be too exciting. And one of the good parts,
Circus Amalgam, very exciting. It's everything.
I mean, I have problems with Circus Amalgam, but with Yetis, you don't want them to be too exciting. Like, I remember when Mech Yetis were a thing, that wasn't like great. It was an okay twist, but I kind of just wanted a regular Yeti. And what's good about this set is if you like the neutral Hearthstone cards, and in the arena, that really forms the backbone of the arena. Assuming that they are going to bring back like the key ones, right? The key neutral cards that we use as standards, whether it is Bloodfen Raptor or River Croc. If they bring those cards back, if they bring the Yeti back, then those cards in every run from here on out, you're going to see more of, because they're going to be offered more, because they have less competition. I mean, the other cards weren't even competition before, but they're just going to be offered to you more. So this is a good thing for boring vanilla cards, assuming that they make it in. Now, if Blizzard reveals the card list coming in and like Yeti, Raptor, and Croc aren't in there, wow, now you're gonna get a totally different arena, right? But we'll see if these things happen. I think for like totally vanilla cards, they do want some of those for basic cards, because not for arena, but they have to teach players stuff. So the easiest way to teach players in the very beginning is to have some cards that do nothing, and then make your spells do something, right? Because a minion is a pretty hard concept to grasp for new players. Like, there's a lot of rules attached to it. If you never played Hearthstone, never played MTG before, like, how a minion functions is actually quite complex. And having to, like, model, like, the actual value of minions and stuff that affects minions and stuff like that for the tier list, it is really complicated. So I feel like they're going to add a few vanilla minions in, and if they're going to add a few vanilla minions in, the existing ones we have are probably going to be one of their starting places. So I feel Yeti's pretty safe.
We'll see what they do with it. That might not be their thinking because they're also adding a classic format. And for them, they might view classic as the place where those cards go. I have no idea. A little bit about the classic format. So if you, I encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to just read the patch notes because they have a nifty, neat little chart that they show as to their future plans. But they are also introducing a classic mode. This is still constructed where you get to play basic and classic cards as they were in 2014. So just like they did WoW Vanilla, this is Hearthstone Vanilla. We will get some unnerfed cards. We will get, like unnerfed Leper Gnome, Abusive Sergeant, all of that stuff. You can go aggro, you can do zoo, you can do all those like Leroy Jenkins shenanigans, all of those fun, wacky things. Innervate out a Yeti.
Oh my god.
So good.
So this is not a good thing. I don't know who was clamoring for this, but
Yeah. Look, it's something in which I don't know how popular it'll be, but they released it. It's out there. It's something that people have been asking for. I'm not going to say so many people, but some people have asked for. And then outside of Classic, there is now Wild with the legacy sets, which is basic, classic, and the the what used to be the Hall of Fame, and then the rotated card sets that are out, and then standard once again is going to be the core sets, and then the current card sets, which is going to be the Year of the Phoenix and the upcoming expansion. And we know that for Arena, we're not going to have, at least to our current knowledge, there's no classic Arena yet. Okay. So as of right now, there's no classic Arena. We're just having, the core sets and then the current card sets, just like what people in standard are going to be playing. If we're going to get a big surprise announcement of classic Arena to shake things up, that would be interesting. I would play it a few times just for the
yeah,
roles.
that's what Arena needs, splitting the player base.
Yeah, I know, right? But that is where we are right now in terms of this announcement. I can definitely see why they didn't save this for BlizzCon. It's a huge thing to process, and I'm sure they want BlizzCon to be about the new set and all these glittery things where they don't need a PowerPoint presentation. It's like, let me point your attention to the top graphic and now the middle graphic, and you see the differences between these. So this announcement definitely makes sense. It was a long time coming. If BlizzCon was only about the upcoming expansion, I think people would just roll their eyes a little bit and say, well, this is a game that is just trudging along, dead game memes, feel free to post them. But although this is not a huge Arena announcement, in terms of, obviously this was geared towards constructed, we're seeing a huge change up in the Arena cards being offered, and also anything that is healthy for constructed or BGs, it's also pretty good for Arena because, man, we just need players right now, let's face it.
Speaking of Arena players, it seems like people have actually been playing the Arena. It doesn't feel like it in the game, and I don't know what the previous year's stats are, but Blizzard released an infographic a couple days ago touting stuff like 23.5 million players worldwide, quote-unquote active players. I think active means we have logged into Hearthstone and played a game in 2020. That's all nice, but what really drew attention to me was the Arena number, which they revealed, and they don't talk about this like ever, so it's interesting that they actually revealed it, is 291 million Arena matches played. So it takes 2 players to play a match, so as far as players go, that is the equivalent of something like 600 million over the course of the year. That beats out Tavern Brawl. So even if you assume every Tavern Brawl involves, every Tavern Brawl does involve 2 people. Tavern Brawl comes in at 271, which puts it which makes it a little bit behind Arena. So for the first time, we actually have stats that say something that I did not think was true. In fact, I thought it was going to be quite significant in the other way. Remember how Blizzard keeps touting all their casual players? Well, it turns out Tavern Brawl, the most casualist of casual modes, is less trafficked in than Arena, which honestly, right now, is the most hardcore of hardcore player modes. Well, maybe duels.
That totally makes sense to me, because the amount of people that play any Tavern Brawl more than once, if they play it once, is almost non-existent.
I see.
Like no one plays Tavern Brawl. It's like a thing to do, right? It's like that one kind of mission that you do just to get the thing, and some people don't even do it. Whereas if you are even queuing up an arena, you are automatically playing 3, right? Like you are locked into 3 games unless you like retire. You're right. I'm not counting the retires. You're automatically locked into 3 games. So just by the very nature of both things, you do an arena, minimum 3 games, most likely like 6 games plus, right?
Still, before this, if I asked you what gets played more, Tavern Brawl, Arena, would you have said Arena?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I would have thought the numbers weren't even close. I would have thought at least
just think
4 times
one
as many
arena
matches.
one arena run on average is 6 matches, right? Meanwhile, Tavern Brawl, like no one is playing no one is spamming Tavern Brawl.
Right, but you play Tavern Brawl what, like 2-3 times?
No, you play it once if you play it, and then you're done.
Well, no, you have quests and you have other stuff. I think most people play Tavern Brawl.
But people don't do quests with Tavern Brawls.
And you have to like win oftentimes to get the quest done, so you have to like, sometimes play a couple times, even if you're just playing. I'm looking at chat, people say a couple times. It's not just once necessarily. Okay, let's say on average twice. How about that? Just because if you need to get a win, that's like 1.5 times, right? So there are other ones where you just play more for whatever reason.
Also, you know that there was only one new one every single week.
Yes.
So it's like once a week.
Okay, so how many people play Tavern Brawl versus Arena, would you say? Don't ignore matches. Just how many people?
Wait. What do you mean? How many people? I have to guess like 300.
No. Okay. Well, like just ratio. How many people play Arena versus Tavern Brawl? I would have guessed the ratio of people who touched Tavern Brawl versus people who touched Arena was like 20-1. Like even though they only play it once or twice.
No, that just seems really high. Like Arena is. Look. We all say like Arena is dying, Arena is dead, and it's like true in some senses because Blizzard isn't doing anything with it, right? But like people play it, right? We joke around that Dreads is just facing himself, the people he hires for $5, and Dr. Stein, but there are people who are actually playing the game there, and when they do, it's very easy for them to outpace Tavern Brawl. That's the thing. Because of the timing of Tavern Brawl and the nature of Tavern Brawl.
6. Sorry. Divided by 3, multiplied by 2.
I give no credit to Tavern Brawl. That's the thing. Like, that is one thing that I was like not surprised at. The kind of very blasé stats for Tavern Brawl. Which is funny because they obviously spend a decent amount of effort on it. Like they do reuse Tavern Brawls, but at the same time, there's some fairly creative ones. They got to implement it. They at least have to like push a button to like push it out, right? So it's just kind of funny how their returns on it aren't great. But you can also argue that because of Tavern, like people want options, right? And people want that free thing every single week. But once they do it, it's like, all right, time to play the thing that I actually want to play.
So if you compare the number of people who play 2 Tavern Brawls a week on average with the number of people who play 1 arena run a week on average, would you think that there were like twice as many people who play Tavern Brawl versus Arena? 3 times? Half? About the same? Like how many people basically touch Tavern Brawl in a week versus touch Arena in a week, right? Like, what's your presumed ratio there? I really
okay.
like. This is what I mean by I would have thought it was 20-1. I would have thought that if you just polled all the Hearthstone players what they touched in a week, Tavern Brawl is going to come up 20 times more often than Arena, and I'm obviously wrong.
Right. No. What I don't understand is we know the numbers. So what was the point of, like, you're asking, why did you think that? I'm like, I thought that, and I told you why I thought that, and then it's
no. I'm not saying.
right.
I'm saying that this is extremely surprising because I mean, maybe you would have said that. Yeah, I think double the amount of people touch Tavern Brawl compared to Arena rather than 20 times, but I think that is like so far away from the assumption that I was operating on. Like, that is shocking to me because the answer is twice. About 2 to 3 times as many people touch Tavern Brawl as Arena in any given week. If you assume that the casual Arena player plays 1 Arena a week and the casual Tavern Brawl player plays 2 Tavern Brawls. And you can obviously be both, right? Or neither.
Yeah, you could be both, you could be neither. Like, whatever.
I think that's like a huge difference if we're compared to my expectations.
No, look, the thing is, there are still Arena grinders / whales, right? There are 0 Tavern Brawl whales or grinders. Like, that's a huge thing. Like, if you're asking why I think that, right? And I don't have like numbers, right? But like when that came out, I was like, oh yeah, like Tavern Brawl is. It's just one of those things where if you're looking for any Tavern Brawl grinders, they're not there. They're like, they don't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, you do have leaderboard players. You do have people who, like, if they're not leaderboard, they're like still spamming like a decent amount of Arena, right? I don't know. I don't have stats for it, but just from what I have seen and just from my guess of like how people play Hearthstone, there are no such kind of.
I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Arena versus Tavern Brawl numbers. What's also interesting is they gave the Duels numbers. Duels has been around for a little over 2 months, and over the course of that 2 months, taken as an entire period, this is in 2020. So in 2020, Duels came out like mid-October or something. So it had about 2.5 months. And if you averaged it compared to Arena, averaging over 12 months, Duels, which has the same exact 12-game format as Arena. Now, each game takes a bit longer on average, but the same general format. Duels has less played than Arena, and this includes the initial honeymoon period, where there was like, I don't know, a month or so of people actually being like, let's play Duels, look how fun it is, before everyone realized what I realized from the very beginning, which is that Duels is kind of a terrible game mode that Blizzard can't save. And that's also interesting to me, not because I think more people play Duels than Arena. Clearly, more people do not play Duels than Arena. But this is even factoring in the almost 50% of the time period that Duels has been around, where Duels was like the it game because it was new and shiny and everyone was touching it. That means that right now, the number of players that plays Duels, the number of matches of Duels getting played, must be so abysmally low. Which, again, is what we expected, based on just kind of, knowing the game and seeing people streaming and asking people in our chat what they play. I just thought that was interesting that they released a stat to kind of back that up, that Duels is basically extremely unsuccessful.
Yeah. If they tried to hide from it, though, that would have been obvious, right? It's like, oh, okay,
Well, they didn't post any constructed stats, so they didn't post any. I guess they measure Battlegrounds in a different way.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to measure Battlegrounds.
It's hard
in the same
to
way.
measure Battlegrounds.
But they could have just hid Duels. They could have been like, look, we didn't have a year's worth of data on Duels. It's not fair to put it out there, right? Like, I could have easily not done it. But they put it out, and it's a stark number. It's 61.42 million versus the 291 million for Arena, 271 million for Tavern Brawl, and the 670 million for hours spent in Battlegrounds. I wonder why they didn't put matches in Battlegrounds and just inflate that number more, right? Because you play many more matches in Battlegrounds than a number, whereas it's Arena matches, not Arena runs, right? You could have easily done arena runs, completed arena runs. So they use matches for everything else, and in Battlegrounds, they're just like, we're going to do hours.
Yeah, it's just a weird kind of thing. Whatever. We know Battlegrounds is pretty healthy right now.
Oh, like, yeah. I mean, if you convert it, how many Battlegrounds do you get done in an hour do you think the average player gets done? Like 4? At least 3.
Wait, no. 4? Wait, what?
Like, no, in an hour. How many would you complete in an hour?
Yeah. Wait, how are we just talking about dreads? Like he gets through like 6, but if we're talking about
the average player, so you finish like 4th or 5th.
2.5?
No, okay, not in the spells zone. Normal Battlegrounds. Is it about the same?
No, like 2.5, 3. 2.5. 3.
I get 3 done. Oh, okay, I get it, because I'm not actually slow at playing Battlegrounds, I'm actually fast at playing Battlegrounds, because I don't make it to the final 2.
Yeah, you never even...
So the fact that I don't finish my turn doesn't actually affect my speed in Battlegrounds, unlike, say, Arena when I'm roping.
You could say 3. I would say it's
let's say 3.
A little bit less. It's less than 3.
Okay,
it's
fine.
like it's less than 3.
Fine, let's say 3. I just assume people play stuff faster than me, but I realize now in Battlegrounds it doesn't matter, because you're like everyone's on the same clock.
All right, if someone is averaging... If someone's coming to me and it's like, dude, I finish BG games in 15 minutes, I'm like, wow, your MMR is shit. Your MMR is so bad.
All right. So let's say 3 times. So 670 times 3, that's 2,000 quote unquote matches of Battlegrounds.
Yeah. All right.
So about, what is that, like 75%? Sorry, not 75%. 33. Arena would come in at 15% of that number.
Something like that.
Which, by the way, is like I said, like if you told me that the number of hours people spent playing Arena was around 15% of the number of hours people spent Battlegrounds, I would have been like, holy crap! How are so many people still playing Arena?
Right.
Like, that seems like a terribly high number. And so, like, whatever my point is, however you're measuring this based on their relative stats, a lot of people are playing Arena. Way more than I thought. Way more than I thought. And there's no constructed numbers here to actually use as the main benchmark. But Arena is super handily beating out duels. It is edging out Tavern Brawl. And it is 15% of Battlegrounds numbers. Like,
this is a rough napkin math.
Yeah, rough napkin math.
Sure. That's fine.
I mean, we don't have real numbers, obviously. So
we don't have real numbers.
Based on this and a whole bunch of assumptions. But it's not going to get too far, right? The real number is going to be somewhere like 10% or 20%. And I
this is like out of doing napkin math off of someone's napkin math.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes,
it's fine. Like, this is secondhand napkin math.
But my point is that it's not like 1 or 2%, which is what I would have expected. I would have expected to be like 2%, honestly. Like, if you compare time spent in Battlegrounds or Arena, I honestly would have expected, I would have bet a lot of money it would have been 5% or less, rather than 15%.
Right. Look, here's the thing about Arena. It makes sense that people are drawn to it more than something like duels. Reason 1, just because it's been around for a long time, people are comfortable with it. And reason 2, Blizzard, okay, here's the thing. We've said it before. Blizzard succeeded with duels in that they implemented what they promised. That's huge. They promised a lot, and they did deliver. The problem is just the format where, number 1, the learning curve is too stark. If I wanted to go back into duels, I can't just go back and figure things out on the fly like you can with Arena. You can do it more so with Arena, because with duels, it's about specific treasures. It's about specific hero powers. And it is Omega constructed, right? Where it's constructed in that you can construct decks, really. And the matchups are so defined. The counters are so specific. You have to watch out for things that aren't even in the normal game, these wacky treasures. So if you don't know, you're just gonna get severely punished. It's like how I feel about League of Legends, for example, where whenever someone asks, like, "Hey, would you ever play in League?" My answer is like, no, I don't know any of the heroes. And if you don't know the heroes, and like, it's not just about knowing your hero, it's about knowing all the heroes that are being played. And if I don't know what that character, like, half a screen across from me can do, well, I'm screwed because I don't know. Like, I don't know what to look out for, right? That's the same feeling I get with duels. If I do get some inclination to play duels, I'm like, oh god, the amount I would have to study. I just don't want to do that, right? It's a deterrent for me. But if I don't study, that sucks because I'm just going to get my ass handed to me due to this ridiculous treasure that's coming out on 6 mana that I had no idea existed because there was no warning at all in any other format of Hearthstone.
Yeah. So like this is the kind of stuff where if it's like a League of Legends, you can kind of get away with it. Why? Because it's a group game, so you can play with your friends, right? And then they'll talk you through it. And also, it's like kind of an action game as well, right? It's not just a strategy game. On the other hand, in Hearthstone, it is just a pure strategy game. And when you do this stuff to a pure strategy game, because that's all you have, that's all people are doing, like anyone who's doing it more than like, I like clicking and seeing pretty things, that's the only impact that they will have on this game. It matters like tenfold more. And it just, like, because what Merp said about LoL, yeah, I mean, that's totally true for him, for me. That's why we don't play. But people get into LoL all the time. Like, League is not something that is, dying because no one new plays League or no one comes back after, like, a few months or a year of absence. And they come back because they can. And they can because there's other things going on with that game that is not just knowing what your opponent is going to do, even though that's very important, when you actually get good at the game. In Hearthstone, there's nothing else going on. Like, after you go, ooh, pretty cards, that's it. So, putting duels in a very tough position. Okay, enough about Arena, enough about duels. Let's talk about Battlegrounds, because there has been an announcement in Battlegrounds. Not a lot of announcement, but I think it's a preview of what may be a bigger announcement that comes with everything else, right, for BlizzCon. So I'm excited. The announcement comes from a community interview with Ixar, and he mentioned that this is from like a few days ago. So he mentioned 3 things. 1, Khadgar Bran is done. I'm kidding. It's not really done. They nerfed Khadgar Bran so that it first summons all the tokens, then makes them triples, which means your board space is a real consideration, and you will at most get 1 triple from a Khadgar Bran. That really limits its power compared to its potential, as you see from people doing Khadgar Cram DS. 2, Junkbot is moving to tier 4. Fine. It was moved to tier 5 before, like a long time ago, and hasn't really been relevant since then. And 3, the next patch will be in 1 or 1.5 weeks, which from today, Sunday, speaking, it means it's going to be out in half a week or 1 week. So pretty much right after BlizzCon, or during BlizzCon, or the day before BlizzCon.
Right. We should expect a patch any day now, especially because the Darkmoon Fair event was 2 months. We are at 2 months right now. Like, this is so we should see the Darkmoon Fair tickets make their way out of the game. A lot of people are sick and tired of getting the tickets already. So that is coming out of the game, and I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be one fell swoop. The Darkmoon Fair event will be over. They're going to implement this upcoming patch with the nerf to Khadgar Bran transitions, with the junk bot, and I'm sure we'll see some other stuff as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerfed Unleash. I wouldn't be surprised if they introduced more characters, introduced more units, shifted some units. They typically do some pretty big changes after a period of kind of just nothing happening.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually expect Unleashed to be nerfed. It just fits the formula that Blizzard has established in the almost year and a half of Battlegrounds being in existence, where it is too powerful, but also too easy to play. You saw this with so many heroes that were nerfed, like, just off the top of my head, Tyrion, Wagtoggle, for instance. Is there more skill to playing Elise? I would say yes than those two heroes that I talked about. Wagtoggle, look, if ADWCTA can take Wagtoggle to like back-to-back first while making some mistakes,
I did
really
not know what elementals were when I took
yeah.
Wagtoggle to back-to-back first.
So does Elise take more skill than that? I would say so, yes, more so than Wagtoggle. However, it just fits the formula of a hero that Blizzard really wants to nerf. It doesn't matter if you're high MMR or low MMR, Elise is just a little bit too powerful.
So how would you nurse Elise? Like, I'm trying to think of it, like, because what they did is they lowered it by 1 mana, right? Which lowers your which basically gave you 5 extra mana over the course of the game, but also makes your curve, like, makes your progression like really freaking smooth. What would you do? What would you do to
that? So what would I do, or what do I think they're going to do?
Both, I guess, because you can't just go back to the way it was before. Then Elise is
I
going to be
think
like,
they're just going to go back to the way it was.
Really?
Before.
These days
Blizzard
it will be not playable.
Mind just killing off things for at least a little while, right?
Okay.
Blizzard doesn't mind doing that. They're like, okay, I think everyone's just tired of seeing Elise. Even if we made her decent, I think people are just tired of seeing her. And let's just wipe her away for a little bit. I think that's the Blizzard way of doing things. It's also clean, right? People understand. It's like, okay, well, fine. It was 3. Right now it's 2. It's going back to 3. And then maybe in the future they will fix it. It's just less for people to think about, right? As to what I think they should do with it, I think something that is easier is easier is actually instead, so you can give her the same curve. So you can make her things cost 2 still. But instead of giving it of discovering the tier that you just went to, you discover the tier that you came from.
Oh, that's gonna make her even more worthless than the normal nerf. Like, that's gonna make her worse than what it was before they even buffed her.
No, because you can still keep the curve. The curve is more important than the power.
Really? If she discovers, like, going into tier 4, she discovers a tier 3. Going to tier 5, she discovers a tier 4.
Because the way she was before, you couldn't reach on those turns. That's the problem.
Okay.
And in the current meta, leveling while just getting something, right, is better than it is better than staying and then be like, oh, but I can get a better unit on the next turn.
The current meta's gone. You can't balance it by the current meta when you're destroying the current meta in the next patch.
Unless you're changing something significantly.
Yeah, you're getting rid of spells. You're getting rid of Elise. You're getting rid of the best hero.
Such that leveling up and tech is king. Like, they would have to shift it so fundamentally. Like, we are gone from the days of even like of tempo heroes being even sort of decent. It is just level and hit. You level and you hit or you die. That is it. Like, Kael'thas is a trash hero now. He's not even like a decent hero. He is like just a trash tier hero. And that's what kind of like, so that's why I think if we were to implement that sort of nerf to Elise, is she still going to be good? No, she's not going to be good. But by giving her that curve, that smooth curve to higher tiers, that's what makes her powerful. You are taking away power every single time that she does it, which I think is important. But I think she, like the Elise player, would rather have that curve than be, have the 3 mana but discover something better. That curve is everything.
Okay. All right. So next question. What about the Khadgar brand nerf? Do you think that kills Khadgar brand? It reduces its like impact by like more than 25%. I feel.
It reduces its impact significantly. So, uh, for those of you guys who don't do it a lot and also don't watch a lot of the streamers who do it quite often, right now, what happens during a brand Khadgar token play or transition, whatever you want to call it, is that the tokens triple up immediately whenever they can. That sort of supersedes everything. So you play the cat or you play the tide hunter, and then as soon as 3 of the tokens appear, bam, it pops up into your hand, and then the rest of the things kind of resolve, right? So the more tokens pop up and everything. And now, according to my knowledge and what I've read, what happens is that check for the triple is at the end of the turn. So if you're looking at it like
Not
some
the
sort
end
of,
of the turn. The end of the
not the end of the
summon.
turn, the end of the summon, right? The end of the summon. So they're like summon end, no more summons. Like this can't summon anymore, right? Now, is there triple? If so, like triple up, which is very important because you don't get like the stupid double triples and all of that stuff anymore. A lot of people were complaining about the time constraints, especially if you have like golden Khadgar plus a brand, golden brand plus a Khadgar, double Khadgar brand, all of that stuff. And the implications that came with it, which is really you had to DC in order to take full advantage of that. So, what Blizzard decided to do was just say, we don't want to take away this skill. Essentially, we still want you to play some DDR. We just don't want you DCing and thinking that you're missing out hugely. You're still going to miss out a little. That's the thing. Blizzard really didn't want to take this away. They didn't want to make like a battleground specific Khadgar, right? Like what they did with Cobalt Guardian. They were saying Cobalt Guardian, we made you for standard. It sucked. We put you in BGs. You were too good. Now we made Deflectobot, and everyone's like happy. Deflectobot is used, but no one is screaming that it's OP, but it's used quite often. They didn't want to create a BG specific Khadgar, so they did. So they're using this. It will make people a little bit happier in that they won't see the absolutely broken boards that you sometimes see where you got your Deflecto, you got your security rover, you're buffing them a little bit, you're happy, your Deflecto bot is like 10 attack and you're like yeah, and you face people with like 30 Kalgoses and a Nadina already and you're just like how is that possible? You look over, they tripled 16 times. You won't see that anymore. They did leave in the fact that you can still do this. So instead of 30 Kalgoses plus Nadina, you're only going to see like 20 Kalgoses, which I think is still going to anger some people. Blizzard basically said, we think that this has some value in the game. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep it in there like this. I don't know if they are thinking of like continue to monitor it and be like, well, we're pretty close to taking it out, but let's see if this fixes it to some extent. But I'm surprised. I thought they would have taken it out almost, if not completely, like, made a Khadgar that only worked during battle, right? Like not during your buying and selling phase. So this was actually pretty surprising to me because you have stated this a lot. And in a game design way, I agree. It's just weird. Like, it is a skill testing. Yes, definitely. Highly so. It's just not Battlegroundsy. It's just very, very strange. So the fact that they're keeping it in at all.
More than just keeping it in, they've dedicated resources to doing something to the like fundamental mechanics of how Battlegrounds works. Which this is the only this mechanic. Does it influence anything else? Like I feel like Khadgar brand is kind of it. Or like
No, that's the only real implication of it,
Khadgar
because
is the only one that
if we're
does
talking
this kind
about
of stuff.
tokens,
Yeah.
yeah, if we're talking like it's really they're not even changing Khadgar brand. I think what they're changing is really token
Okay.
mechanics,
Yeah.
or like that sort of mechanics. So that's really what they're changing. Obviously, it's geared towards Khadgar brand kind of shenanigans, and then the stupid amount of triples a turn. Uh, but yeah, so they're capping it a little bit, and it has a lot of implications, because if you cap it, people don't go for it that
Mm-hmm.
often, right?
Yeah.
Because the payoff isn't huge anymore. You're not guaranteed to get that, that amount of stats. You're not guaranteed to get that many, or sorry, you're not going to get as many hits like or discovers on tier 5 or tier 6. So if you're trying to do like the double Kalimgos Nadina, like one board transition, you might not get it. You might just get like a single Kalimgos, and that's not enough. You die with just a single Kalimgos while doing it. So um, I definitely think it will have an effect. Everyone is tired of it. Do I think it's enough? I don't know. I think it's a maybe, because it definitely discourages a lot of people from even trying it in the first place, because their reward is just not the same anymore. But I'm not sure. Like I really don't know, and I'm kind of disappointed that Khadgar wasn't just either removed or kind of just fundamentally changed such that this sort of thing is out of the game, and we can just focus on good old, Hearthstone, like honest Hearthstone, like you want it to be.
Yep. All right. Well, that's what we know about Hearthstone coming up. I think we covered everything, and we're excited for for BlizzCon. I will be streaming on the night of BlizzCon, starting at 7 o'clock. BlizzCon itself starts at 5 o'clock. This is all at East Coast time. Uh, and yeah, so hopefully everything will be done by the time everything relevant at least will be done. Otherwise, we may start the stream with like a watch party if relevant things are still going on. But I don't think they are. I think we'll be in good shape at that point. So yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to with regard to Hearthstone there. And judging by this next patch will be in 1 to 1.5 weeks, it seems like we'll have something new to play. If not before that, then immediately right after. So that'll be fun. Um, Moving on, we're going to end this with a little bit of general BlizzCon talk. Question from the GOAT about other games and other things about BlizzCon hype. I want to talk first about a game that I've been playing this weekend. I just finished it. I like freaking binged through it, which usually is the sign. Like if you sit down and you binge through like 25 hours of a game, it's usually because the game is really, really good. So I played Outer Wilds because it's been on my list forever. And after playing Hades, I'm like, I should really get back and play some of these games that I've been kind of putting off because 2020. So I went to play Outer Wilds. If you haven't played it yet, I could give it like a half recommend. I don't regret playing it, but it's way overhyped if you read the reviews. Like this is not the next best thing. It's impressive in some ways, both in the design and in the execution of it, but more in the like I appreciate that this game exists kind of way than this is like a really insanely good game. Um, and yeah, it's impossible to talk about the game without spoiling it too much. But the basic, so go Google it if you're potentially interested in it. The basic gameplay loop is basically that it's like Groundhog's Day, and you're trying to solve it. No combat, just pure exploration. All right. So that's my. I've just been doing it for so long. I felt like I could talk about it. It has a really kick-ass song. The best part about it, like Brandon was watching me the whole time and getting frustrated with me at various parts when we were exploring. But like she says, the best part about the game was the freaking song, and it is a kick-ass song. You can even Google the song. Just Google Outer Wild song. We said, I'm not gonna say it because Google's right here, but we said the command to trigger our voice system in the house, and then we just said play Outer Wild song, and then they recognized it. It was pretty good. Okay. Away from that, we have other games that are coming out for BlizzCon, including the big ones. What do you think, Merps, the biggest games are going to be at BlizzCon?
All right. Blizzard, in a shareholder call earlier, stated that Diablo 4 is not coming out this year. No surprise to anyone. Shouldn't be a surprise.
Wow.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they say it again next year. / they're gonna say it.
I was about to say, I would be so surprised if they don't say it next year.
Right.
And by next year, I mean this year.
The surprising thing was they said that Overwatch 2 was not coming out this year. I think it disappointed a lot of people because there was hope out there that Overwatch 2 would come out, let's say, this holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know it's been in the works for a while. And I won't get into the exact rumors, but people had decent reason to think that it could have been coming out this year. So when they said that Overwatch 2 was not coming out this year, a lot of people were disappointed, me included. I'm looking forward to playing it. From what it sounds like, it's going to be a lot of fun. But if you notice on the BlizzCon schedule, they've allotted more time / more slots than usual to Diablo. That's huge. You know that we're both huge Diablo fans, especially Diablo 2. We know that there is obviously going to be a big Diablo 4 update. However, we also know from just, confirmations on the internet, Diablo 2 Remake has all but been announced by Blizzard.
Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yes, Blizzard has not announced it themselves, but the entire industry knows that it has been confirmed, and not only that, it is being worked on right now. So I am looking forward to hearing the potential announcement. And if they don't announce it here, I would be shocked.
They're 1,000,000% going to announce it, and they're going to say it's not coming out this year.
Yes. However, I am very curious about what they plan to do with the game. Yes. At the very least, I want to hear their vision for it. Is it a completely faithful remake of Diablo 2, we just want to reskin it, or are they going to add some quality of life changes, which I think everyone would agree with? For those of you playing D2 right now, the most popular way to play it is actually Pluggy, which is a mod with single player. I play Pluggy. And Pluggy has implemented many quality of life changes that people have been asking for a long time. For example, increased stash size. If you remember the stash sizes of Diablo 2, it was minuscule. It was less than minuscule. But there have been a lot of quality of life improvements in the 20 years that Diablo 2 has come out.
I remember when we used to play that one of us had to be the rune guy and the other one had to be the gems guy so that we could conserve our stash space and be able to do it.
You had to.
And then whenever we actually wanted to save stuff, we would have to clear out gems or clear out runes and upgrade them.
That was definitely one of the things that needed to be updated. And the thing I'm curious about the most is how they're going to handle the mechanics, the extraordinarily outdated mechanics of Diablo 2, but the mechanics that Diablo 2 was built upon, which is really frame rates. Frame rates in Diablo 2 was everything. And this is why you had breakpoints for stuff like faster cast, faster hit recovery, all of that stuff, because of the crappy frame rates in Diablo 2, you had to get one frame better.
So if people are kind of unaware of this because they did not play Diablo 2 or really any games in that era, because that was not uncommon during that time to see games do, rather than actually have a system calculate damage and speed and whatever, you literally increase cast speed, increase attack speed, did absolutely nothing for you. Literally no effect on your character until it hit an invisible breakpoint, in which case you can get one frame faster on your animation speed. And then it has the effect that you would hope that you put. Like if you had 20% attack speed, you would hope you hit 20% faster. You never hit 20% faster. You hit 0% faster, and at a certain point, you hit the breakpoint and you hit 33% faster. If you had like a 3 frame attack, for example. So the entire system was built on that. It was 24 frames. I remember this because I did a lot of math on that stuff. Everyone did a lot of math on that if you were serious
25
about.
frames, wasn't it?
Was it not 24 frames?
It was 25.
Why am I remembering 24 frames?
I don't know.
Well, 20,
yeah. I just checked. It's 25 frames.
So 25 frames. So it was also a crappy frame rate on top of the fact that it had to lock you into frames and do all the math on the frames.
Yep. So I'm very curious what they do with that, because Diablo 2 was built upon that framework, which is why there are some numbers that people have memorized over the years. For example, if you're a sorceress, like if you're a Blizz sorceress, you want to get to 105 faster cast rate. If you're a lightning sorceress, you want to get to 117. These are all things that D2 nerds know about.
Terrible way to make a game. Of
Yep.
course, at the time, that was the only way to do it that made sense and saved enough resources to make the game happen. So, but now we don't have those limitations anymore. So hopefully that stuff goes away. As you can tell, we're huge D2 nerds, and it'll just be interesting seeing how those get implemented. Also, their patches really fixed a lot of the skills from being worthless towards the end game, but it wasn't the end. Like there's still a huge differential between the power levels of most of the skills. It's not at anywhere near the quality of a modern game in terms of balancing. So I'm interested to also see if they're going to do something about that, which they may and they may not. I can see them choosing just to be like, whatever, these were powerful, at the end of the game, that's what we're going to choose to do. I'm also curious to see whether like LOD, Lord of Destruction, the expansion is included or not, or if it's just faithful the original Diablo 2.
I think it kind of has to include LOD, because a lot of people just really came into the game once, like Lord of Destruction came in.
LOD was a huge expansion in terms of like just quality of the game. But they could keep a lot of the changes in LOD without bringing the campaign of LOD back,
They could. I think people just like Act 5 as well. People want to be able to play Act 5.
People like Act 5? Oh, I hated Act 5.
People like Act 5. They want to be able to play Act 5. It's very iconic for a lot of people. I am curious what patch they will release it to. Is it just going to be the current patch? Is it going to be a slightly earlier patch? There's pros and cons for a lot of them. If they are doing one of the current patches, it's way too rune word heavy.
Yeah,
as in
I'm sure they're going to adjust
dominate everything.
I'm sure they're going to adjust that. Like stuff is happening. That's what I'm excited about, right? I'm excited about a new Diablo game, but we're talking about stuff that's going to be announced, but not going to be out anytime this year. Maybe not even next year. The Diablo game that is going to be out. Presumably this year, hopefully this year, because it's already in alpha, is Diablo Immortal, which is a mobile game, but everyone so far who's touched it has had really good reviews of it. And considering how much flack this game got for pretty much existing 2 years ago when BlizzCon made the announcement, I think that's quite a bit of progress. And it seems like what I'm excited about is a lot of the reviews are basically saying this is kind of just a Diablo game. Which is fair, because think about what you could play on mobile nowadays. Like, put Hearthstone aside, right? Like, you could play full-on major releases of all the major games that you would normally only expect to be on PC and console, as far as the multiplayer games go. You play all of them on mobile. Why? Because your phone is probably more powerful than most people's computers. And so that's where the games are headed. And so Diablo Immortal may be a phone game, but Diablo is just not a complicated game. It's never been a complicated game, except for areas in which it made itself complicated that are totally not necessary for anyone's enjoyment of the game. So I'm looking forward to like a stripped down, in a good way, version of Diablo that has all the things that I like about Diablo, and then I'm going to be annoyed that I'm going to have to play it on mobile and not on my PC.
Diablo is a game that just makes sense for it to be on mobile because, oh, you got a 10-minute train ride. I mean, this is assuming people are going anywhere, but if we're in a normal world, you got a 10-minute train ride, you can do some runs. You can do like 1 or 2 runs. That's perfect. That's exactly the format of Diablo, right? It's like, oh, let me
Mm-hmm.
try to get some good items, pull that slot machine, see what I get. It's not like some other games on the phone in which you have 10 minutes. You're like, well, I can't do anything in
Yeah.
10 minutes, so I'm not going to play it. Diablo is perfect.
Yep. Yep. So definitely excited about announcements related to Diablo Immortal. Um, Anything else you want to talk about for other games at BlizzCon? I mean, we're not WoW people, but WoW's apparently getting a big announcement time slot. I think the Overwatch news was kind of expected, actually. Not like expected as of 4 months ago, but expected as of a month or two ago.
Right.
Because Genji's voice actor leaked that he hadn't recorded any voice lines. So that's presumably Genji is going to be in Overwatch 2, featuring at least a supporting role, if not a major role. And the fact that the voice actor hadn't recorded any voice lines yet means that this game is nowhere close. Um, and yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Overwatch because they've already announced that there's not going to be stuff happening in Overwatch. So I don't know. Maybe this year the announcement for Overwatch is, oh, by the way, we're actually going to introduce more stuff to regular Overwatch because Overwatch 2 is delayed. Like maybe it'll be kind of a mitigating the damage kind of thing, right? Where it's like, look, we teased you about Overwatch 2, and then we said no more development on Overwatch because we're getting ready for Overwatch 2, but because Overwatch 2 isn't happening for like more than a year, here you're going to get another hero or two that
The
we were
funny thing is,
planning for Overwatch 2, right? But we could just release them early.
Overwatch right now is pretty healthy, and quite a few people are playing it. The problem with Overwatch is just the fact that it is a big competitive esport, uh, and you always have to watch out, right? And in fact, what we've seen from, for example, HOTS, which everyone kind of left for dead after Blizzard pulled support away from it. In fact, we see that it's fairly healthy right now because what happened after Blizzard pulled the esports scene away was the developers, in the best way possible. Like you love to see something like this. They basically said, okay, we don't need to worry about competitive anymore, so we're just gonna have fun. And that's how you have heroes like Deathwing come out in HOTS, which is just like they just push the boundaries of what MOBAs can do. And I don't play HOTS. Okay, this is just from what I hear, and I looked at the numbers. A lot of people have come back to HOTS. It's doing pretty well right now, and this is after they took away support. And
Yeah.
it just goes to show, like having a healthy or having a vibrant current esports scene for Overwatch. It's good, but it also forces it to be stagnant in many ways. Whereas HOTS, which a lot of people left for dead, is just apparently a really fun game that's doing pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, they're not like they're still having more frequent than they were before balance patches. But they're like smaller balance patches where I mean the effect may be big, but they're not doing major like character redesign stuff these days. Um, all right. Well, that's it for our question from the goat on BlizzCon. You'll hear our take on BlizzCon you'll hear my take first, I guess, on Friday because I'm streaming, and I'm sure people will ask, and I will be excited to talk about anything new that we've heard. Although I'm probably not going to do like a card by card breakdown on like what's in the new core set or what's in the new expansion or whatever. But on Sunday, on the next Lightforge, that's going to be huge. We're going to start going over a lot of things because remember, there's also no more tier lists. So at whatever point that we're ready, we could even just start reviewing new cards once enough of them come out. We don't have to like save it all. We're still going to save all the reviews for the new set, except for like maybe a couple of them just to give you an idea if people are talking about those cards or if there's like a flavor attached to it, like a new mechanic. But we're going to save all the new expansion for like the weekend before the expansion when we will review them. But for something like the core set or whatever, right? We may be able to. I don't know that we're gonna do it next week, but maybe it'll come like quicker, much quicker than before if we needed to wait for the algorithm numbers. So yeah, thank you to our patrons for supporting us. Our top patrons for the month: Nor Doge, Joel T, RV Night Train, Chang Yin, Eric L, Aaron LS, Dan F, Doug A, Kurova, Torjado, Math, and Carnage 4P and brand new. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. It really means a lot, and we hope to, despite the shutting down of the tier list, we hope to keep providing you content from the podcast, from the Arena Coop, and just generally streaming on YouTube's.
Yes.
All right. Well, happy holidays, everybody. Until next time, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. See you guys.